All right, guys. So what I want to kind of talk about today, uh, which I see a lot of stuff on the Facebook groups about this particular thing with these. These are the Injora inserts, silicone inserts. I am on the Injora group on not my favorite place, Facebook. So I do follow some of that stuff. I took these out. I've got quite a bit of runtime on these blues. The greens over here, I'll grab them. I just wanted to do kind of a little interlude between testing here, I guess you could call it. Uh, Greens, blues, these are going to stay in these. These are going to stay in the multi-terrain, the Injora tires. And I will break that down in this video as well for you. So what we have here is the greens mounted in the Proline BF Goodrich Crawler TAs, mounted to her original wheels here. The greens are softer than this is the factory Proline single stage foams that have a lot of runtime on them. The greens are just maybe, I don't even know if I'd necessarily say they're just a tad bit softer than like your single stage foam maybe. But the sidewall, I mean, look at this. I'm barely squeezing on that, and it's just collapsing. I mean, it's just collapsing right down. You're going to get way more sidewall, even if you're running the green softs and like the Proline crawlers. Now, the Proline crawlers are, a wider tire, so we're just going to go ahead and lead into that. Then these Injora pin tires. So I see guys saying about, this is the one with the Proline foam in it, like the wider tires, because the way the insert is kind of beveled here. I don't really notice a giant, huge problem with these. I didn't run these yesterday, but we ran Canyon Trails 1.9s that come stock on. If you watch the video, you'll see the blue TRX4 Sport that's kind of decked out with the stuff. He had the greens in that with the Canyon Trails, and which are a good tire for an RTR. They do really well. And I didn't notice it being a big issue running the wider tire, any kind of like slippage or tires bunching up or the insert giving problems or sliding around or anything. And the Canyon Trail is actually, I'm pretty sure it's a little wider than the crawler, or it looks to be like it is. There's very little, I mean, these feel about the same. Sitting against the 3D insert, rubber to insert wise on my YZZRs. Maybe just a little bit extra here. But I see guys taking, and I mean, I don't know. I'm going to run these like this first and see what they do. I see guys getting what they call, and I think the Crawler Canyon guy, I think he's the one that started it, taking what he calls fridge foam and cutting your, I think maybe he might lay, I think he lays maybe the tire down. I don't know, but I know he cuts the fridge foam that I think's like an 1/8 inch thick fridge foam. It's like polypropylene, whatever, polyurethane foam stuff. I think it's like fridge mats. And then he just trims it, and then he shims one side of it. And if I remember correctly, he shims the inside of it, and then that supposedly kind of takes up the extra little space if you're worried about that. I'm going to get all these mounted to these, and I'm going to run them before I decide what I'm going to do with that. But I don't. It wasn't a problem yesterday. Just running these in his Canyon Trails. There was no issues whatsoever. They worked. These greens worked like fantastic in his TRX4 Sport. And look, he's loaded down with like all the light kits. He's got his the small 3S pack up front all the way. He's got the heavy brass outside counterweights on it. You know, I mean, he's not like a super heavy truck, but he's fairly heavy. You know, because the TRX4 is a little heavier anyways. Plus, he's got all the additions of the lights and the wires and everything else in there. The greens, it performed flawlessly yesterday. I mean, he couldn't make our hard, you know, cross our rock area, the big rock. And if you check out Steven's 304 RC, he's up working on. We trailed like quarter of the day yesterday, and these, both him and I, no problems whatsoever with the inserts. Are these going to degrade over time? Let me check my time on the phone here. I'm going to stop this and restart it. Okay, so I'm going to turn this a little bit here. So, are these going to degrade over time? I don't know. I mean, maybe. But are any of the 3D foams, 3D inserts going to break down over time? Probably. I mean, this is silicone. I can see this maybe getting more pliable as you run it, so the green might end up being a little too soft for you. I think if you got like around a 5-pound rig, maybe 6 pounds, I think these greens are going to be just fine. If you're like building like a super lightweight rig or whatever, I think these greens will work fine for you. I think if you start seeing 7 pounds and more, depending on your tire, depending on what tire you're running, because they were way too soft for these. Man, these things stick to everything. They were way too soft for these for 9 pounds. But if I'd have had Canyon Trails per se, because you're looking at different rubber, different brand, different rubber compounds, it's heavier. A lot of your RTR tires are a little bit more of a heavier duty rubber compound. So you got to take a lot of factors into consideration here. You can't just be like, oh well, it's the same for this tire, it's the same for that tire. It's not going to be that way. Every tire is going to be a little bit different for you when you're running into like your rubber compounds. Also, I do 100% believe that these are going to wear in and probably eventually wear out, as in rubber does wear out. So eventually they are probably going to go bad on you. Can I see these going like cracking? You know, maybe. I mean, if you did something to get them hard, or you leave them in a vehicle that's super hot, maybe might affect them. I know the cold does affect these. It will make them a little harder. So if you're doing testing, keep in mind, if it's cold outside, your green's not going to react like it would on normal temperature. Yesterday was around the same temperature it was when I tested these greens. So I knew I'd get about the same, performance out of them. The sidewall stability is heavier than the greens. Here's what I kind of wish. I wish the blues, because I think the blues will break in. For 9 pounds, I'm super happy. I'm not trimming any webbing out. I wish the blues were just maybe a tad softer out of the package. But as running it, as I stated before, I think they'll break in and they'll seat in and be about right. For sure, I think if you're going to put these in like a really wide tire, like my Groundhogs over here from RC 4-wheel drive, I think they're going to need the fridge foam. I think they would need the shim. I don't think this would hold that Groundhog tire. These just are not wide enough. They fit in the crawlers just fine with no problems whatsoever. You can see it here. These are super easy to mount tires with. Just like I've never had any problem with the 3D inserts. I've had these on all of these. Both. This is a different set of wheels. This is more of a trill design type wheel. These are more of like your my Vanquish is a little bit. Obviously they're not. They're like the knockoffs, whatever. I've got a set of Vanquish over here. These mount the same way up. They fit in these. My Vanquish rings will go right in these knockoff wheels. I found that the other day too. So all that right there fit fine. So they don't seem to move around for me. They don't bunch up for me. They stay put where you put them. I think definitely if you were shooting around 10, 11 pounds, I think these blues would still work for you, probably up to at least an 11-pound truck. I think once you started pushing past 11 pounds on the blues, I think depending on your tire, if you had like RC four-wheel drive's rubber compounds, like it melts onto the rock. They're real ooey and gooey. But they're a fantastic tire. I love the RC four-wheel drive tires. These groundhogs are freaking awesome. Every RC four-wheel drive tire I've run on my 155 scale trucks have been perfectly fine with me with a little bit of tuning of the foams. Sometimes and most scale trucks are super heavy. I mean, I have them up to 14 pounds almost. So, I'd love to see Injora make these for scale guys, for 155s. That I would be so ecstatic, because then you've got like waterproofing. You don't got to worry about, your foams, the degradation of your foams. So, what else can I say about these inserts? I personally see some stuff, guys, on like the Injora group saying they're leaving there. Let me check my time before we get into anything else. I'm trying to cover everything. Yeah, we're good still. So I see guys saying stuff like, they're leaving their truck sit flat down. Like I have this one sitting up here. I have this truck sitting flat down. Leaving them sit with the weight on them, and they have a flat spot. Well, it's silicone. It's not any kind of memory stuff. So even if you do get a flat spot in these guys, if you run them, just run them. The flat spot's going to come out of it. It's the same way with foams. I've ran the foams and tires of trucks that sit. Yeah, they'll get flat spots in them. If you work them and you run them, they come back out. You're really not supposed to store a rig like that. You're supposed to store the rig with the weight off the wheels. Don't blame Injora for getting flat spots in your silicone inserts. Use some common sense. Not trying to be a jerk here or anything, but if it's that big of a deal to you, store your trucks with the weight off the wheels. It don't matter whether you have foams. I don't know. I've got my one truck. I always with the 3D inserts is always up off the. It's not sitting flat down. But it's silicone rubber, guys. It's not going to stay that way forever. If you run it. It'll work its way out. I'm 100% sure of that. I see guys complaining about that already, man. People will complain about anything anymore. I see guys saying something about he had a truck that had some other inserts in it and blah, 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 and it don't do that and this and that. I don't know. I'm just telling you my experience. You're really supposed to store them with the weight off the load off the wheel, off the tires. So that's proper storage for any especially your crawlers. And the RC will do it, guys. Basher rigs, they'll get flat spots. I mean, you're really supposed to store them with the weight off. So that's how it's always been. So I just wanted to cover that a little bit. It's not the inserts. It's been like that for like 50 years. So what else want to get into? Let's get into, pretty much I think, just keep in mind if you're looking at getting a set of these, for what they're worth, they're 100% worth the money. Even if they only last like one season worth of crawling and they start deteriorating on you, they're $20. I've ran foams and got one season of crawling out of them and running them in water and stuff, and they fell apart on me and went bad. These aren't going to fall apart on you and go bad in the water. They're not going to hold water. One other thing I want to get into with these, if you're a tire venter, if you vent your tires, 100% I would just go straight to the blue, because vented, I see these on vented rims, and I could see the venting will let it sag down a little bit more, from my experience. So if you vent, I would go straight to the blue insert. I don't know if I would, unless you were really wanting something that was super soft. I would if you're a venter, I would think the blue would work for you all the way around. To be honest with you, I don't vent. I don't have, these aren't vented. I have one set of wheels that are vented, but for sure though, you got to take all that stuff in consideration, guys. Venting, the weight of the truck, 100% for sure. The tire compound that you're running. If you're running like a Predator, especially like in the Pro line, I would 100% just go straight to the blue. If you throw, it's just gonna melt down the rock like liquid snot. That's just from my experience so far with them. I've still got a lot more testing to do, but I think that pretty much covers most of it with the inserts here. Like I said, they fit in my crawlers really fine. I'm going to get the other 3 mounted up today, and then hopefully... Okay, so back to it here. So what I was saying was I was hoping maybe to get out for some testing today at my buddy's indoor course if I get all these done for the greens mounted up in these Pro lines, and I'll see how they do, maybe do some video footage. I'm actually thinking about mounting all these up and taking them out and putting them on his truck and letting him run it around the course there himself and see what he thinks. I got some overdrive gears I've got to get installed. Well, and overdrive for the front of this. I mean, some guys don't like overdrive. I don't know. I tend to see where overdrive helps. I've watched a bunch of videos lately. I do a lot of research before I decide on anything. I think that little bit of overdrive will help this thing. I think you can go a little too far sometimes with it. It might actually hurt, but this is just going to give it I think maybe an 11%, which I think is going to be not that big of a deal. What else can I say here when we get back? Oh, the tires. I wanted to go over the pin tires here. These tires work. What I've found so far, they definitely love rocks. Of course, that's what they're designed for them. I'm pretty sure. I think if you're going to do some bashing with these, I don't think I would recommend these tires for going out and doing like trail bashing. I don't think they would make a good trail bash tire. I think if you're looking for doing something like that, these Pro lines but I think if you're doing like indoor stuff maybe or course stuff, I think these things are fantastic. But going out and beating trails, man, I don't know. The sidewalls on these are pretty thin, in my opinion. They're not like a reinforced carcass tire like a lot of them. If you're doing light trailing stuff, they did okay. I mean, they performed okay. They pack up really bad with if you're in clay type sandy mud. The minute you get that clay type sandy mud stuff on them, these things are so sticky, they just do not want to fling anything. The water did not seem to affect these that much. That rock was pretty wet in some spots getting on them, and it didn't seem to affect it getting hooking up and gripping. So I don't think the water so much, but if you get this in a muddy situation, this crawler TA eats through the mud, mud better than what the pins. These are more, I think, of just coarse stuff. And it's fantastic at that for the price that you pay for them. I put these on par with my Hyrax, honestly. I feel that I've been running for a while. I really think these will hang almost with them Hyrax, man. Longevity, I have no idea. But if you start drabbing these into sharp stuff or sticks or whatever, like the sidewall's not going to take it on these pin tires. But if you're running like a course, indoor, outdoor course type stuff, and you're watching real close to what you're doing, these tires are, would work definitely for you really well. But if you're wanting more hardcore, uh, yeah, stuff, I would definitely recommend a more of a trail type tire. But that's why I'm going to run. I got 2 sets. I got these for when I start doing. We're going to try this spring to get down to some of the indoor stuff with as a family and everything. But yeah, I'm going to pick me up another set of these pin tires as well for myself for my Ascent. So I think, and probably another set of these. I may end up my Ascent's lighter, so I may try these on it as well. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing yet. These things are cheap, so if I got to buy another set, it's no big deal. I think we've covered. I'm trying to cover them good, guys, here. Because if people have questions, comments, put them down below. Trying to engage with, people that are subscribing and watching more. To try to get the channel to grow. Plus, let's converse a little bit. Have conversations down below. As long as everybody's polite with one another and gets along. This isn't a Facebook group where everybody becomes a giant D-bag. That's why I stay away from that stuff. That's not how I roll. Treat people how you want to be treated. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, guys. I don't think these are, the complaints, I tried to cover, like, a lot of the stuff that I'm reading on a lot of the groups. Of course, guys cry and whine about everything. It's Facebook. It ought to be called Crybook. Because all people do is, I'm trying to cover everything here. These aren't bad for what you're paying for them, fellas. My buddy's got a set of the three bros that have the tuning rods. I hate that tuning rod. I don't like it. I mean, constantly taking your, and I mean, they're great. He likes them. I don't like the idea of taking my tire, breaking it down to change the tuning rods. It seems like a lot of work to me. I prefer the YZZRs over those. Still don't have the squid certs here. Because I can buy like 2 sets of these for the squid certs. And even if I buy the fridge foam and these, it's still cheaper than the squid certs. I'm going to get a set of the squid certs too to have here. My buddy was going to let me borrow his 3 bros, and I'm like, dude, I've seen the hassle that you go through moving those. Not for me. I'm not doing that. Especially on some of these wheels, I'm just constantly, you're Loctite and taking screws back out. No, not for me at all. I'll stick with the YZZR or for sure the squid certs. I know are good as well. So my recommendation, if you have the money, for sure 100%, I would still think going with the squid certs, and the YZZRs are super affordable, really. I've not had a single issue with my YZZRs in my other rig, and they've got some runtime on them, and it was used when I got it. I 100% would say probably buy those because they're tried and true. Budget-wise, it ain't going to hurt your pocket to try these guys, in my opinion. I think you'll maybe pleasantly surprised you'll find out that these actually work pretty well for what they are. Don't let brand names push you away from a lot of stuff. I see a lot of guys turn their nose up at stuff. Doesn't make no sense to me at all. I don't care. That's fine. I'm trying to use proper language here. A lot of guys are brand whores. I'm not trying to be a jerk again. I'm just calling it as I see it. I have RC Full Drive, I have Vanquish, I have Traxxas, I have Red Cat, I have G-Made, I have, honestly, stock to stock. I'm going to do a video here, and it's going to probably hurt a lot of people's feelings, but I've got a G-Made. The Buffalo was a GSO2. I don't know. One of them's like a GSO2F, and one of them's like the GSO2. I can't remember. I've got the ones that's got the Curry-style angled axle, whatever they call them. Stock to stock. I would put that thing against any stock SCX 10.2 and guarantee you I'll do just as well. So, that is not saying anything against axial. I have axial stuff too. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not one brand specific. I wasn't a big Traxxas guy before, because of the crap that they pull. But, you know, the TRX4 platform's a good platform. I really like the high trail that's not a high trail anymore sitting back here. I love my hauler. It's fantastic. The only thing I don't have here is a cross. And they've making some stuff I wouldn't mind getting my hands on and having. But maybe eventually one day down the road. So that's what I can get on to, guys, for the inserts and just blah, blah, blah. And just a little bit of bull crapping in the video. Hopefully everybody takes time out and they actually listen and they watch. From the RC Dungeon, peace.